Hello, this is Perri Mink. It is Tuesday, April 30th, 2019, about 11:30 in the morning, and I'd like to give you an update as to why and how these illegal events keep occurring directed at me. So far, I have not heard any word that there will be justice for me and the other Elvira, my beloved pug, and the other Encina victims. I haven't even seen one article in the news, one news report about the horrific, cruel, and inhumane decisions being made at the courthouse here in Contra Costa County, California. And the last video I made, I talked about some of this harassment, this deranged and bizarre hinting threat tactics that they keep perpetrating and directing at me. And so I got through the Housing Authority inspection the annual, every year I have to go through this recertification inspection. And they make it so difficult and so scary that you just don't even know what they're going to do to you. It's a threat that comes across that you will end up homeless in the street. And they already demolished my home that I bought with my own money in Concord from the sale of my first home, which was a condominium in Pleasant Hill, California, which is the next town over. So I was working on they keep bombarding me one after another, and so you just don't know what it's going to be. But they play these games, these wicked games, so that it appears as if you are the one that's the problem, or some type of trickery where in your transactions and your purchases, your bill paying, your interactions with other people, and that it's going to become this response to you that's bizarre, so that you will then react. And that way they can say, see, you're the one that's paranoid. See, you're the one that's delusional. See, you're the one that has a short temper. See, you're the one that's terse. See, you're the one. It's always playing this game, this wicked game, and in their tactic, what I call turning the tables, because it's the opposite of what Jesus was doing to stop the corruption. They're actually perpetrating the corruption, and it's their way of turning the tables to continue the corruption. Because in our country, in the United States, the laws are written that you have rights, that the individual has rights. So in order for the Catholic Church to thwart that, to conflict with that, to create hostility and division, they turn that table. So it's the opposite of what Jesus' message is, to take care of people as individuals. So I was dealing with my auto insurance, and I had posted on Facebook that I didn't get a notice about reporting the mileage, which I was doing annually because I was under a certain program under my policy for driving few miles, and then you get a discount. And so I didn't get a notice, which I would get semi-annually, both through the postal mail and through email, and I didn't receive it. So I just reported the mileage of my damaged vehicle myself. And then I posted on there that I never received anything. And then I get a strange email from my State Farm agent asking me all these questions, never mentioning that this discount for the low mileage was discontinued, or that I needed to report it. Then I get in the mail because I do auto pay, and then the amount was more. And so I thought, why has this increased significantly? And I can't even finish the claims. The car was damaged by conspired to the government, the law enforcement here, and the neighbor, and who knows who else was involved in it, the landlord and the mechanic. And so they, as I mentioned before, they sabotaged my brake master cylinder so I can't drive it. He stole the carburetor. They damaged the tires, and so 2 tires are flat. And this is done by this tactic that they use, terrorist tactic, so that I can't function. So it looks like I'm irresponsible, but that car was running perfectly fine. You keep up with what needs to be replaced, and that's what I was doing. And they just completely stole my money, didn't do the repairs on the car. And this happened just about a year and a half ago when they ramped up again against me. So finally, I contacted my State Farm agent, and I asked about the discount for the mileage, and that I had received, that I reported it, and I received an email back saying that they discontinued that, and then asked me about these other issues that were in that other email. So they keep changing these issues so that you react, and then you look like you're uptight, and you're an untrusting person, and you're causing the problems. And I have never seen justice for myself against the veterinary practice and Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated at all. And that case that I filed in 2008, which was timely, it was within statute of limitations and was supposed to be settled within the year per law. And instead, something else happened behind my back. I didn't know it at the time. And they were somehow planning, the women were plotting to destroy me, and they did. So that issue about the women in the government wanting to and destroying a female is very disturbing. And you wonder, why did that happen? And I posted recently on Facebook about women's rights. And during the whole time that they had kept me in the criminal case illegally, it was completely illegal, and I proved that through evidence, and that was in my patch articles and on my website, and I can post that in the comment here. And the women completely lied about me, and it's so disturbing because I kept telling the appointed attorney, Jane Elliott, to please stop. Don't you care about women's rights? Why are you doing this to me? She kept harassing me. Every time I spoke with her, she harassed me. And I went to the other people that were contacting me. For example, there was another mental health aspect to the criminal case that they forced me into, where there was a psychologist, I believe, Dr. Cons, and she had contacted me, and I called her back, leaving a message saying that I consider this civil harassment because I didn't have any rights. And they just kept focusing on attacking me, attacking who I am as a human being, my reputation, my character, who I am as a person. And it was directed at my sex life, and that has nothing to do with my case against the veterinary practice. It was so bizarre and so scary. And I kept telling the women, especially because it was mostly women, I'm getting sick over this. Jane Elliott keeps harassing me. I can't go in anymore. I'm too weak. And they just didn't care one bit. Even the bail bond company had, you're supposed to call in on a regular basis. And Jane had harassed me so much, and I had gotten so weak that I could, and I mentioned about this before, I could barely lift the bags of the bulk mail that I was responsible for. That was one of my employment jobs. I could barely lift that anymore. The people noticed it, that I could barely lift it. I could barely lift the bundles of newspapers at the Rossmore News, and my boss saw that, a woman, uh, but did nothing, not even help me. They just were sadomasochists, watching me suffer, getting weaker and weaker, deteriorating physically. These are women in the government, women, my boss. And also, I can no longer physically get up on my roof of my home to fix there's a area around the swamp cooler, which is the cooling device for the mobile home. And every year before the rainy season, you just seal it because the sealant becomes weather cracked and weather beaten. And if you don't do that annually, then the rain will come in. And so I couldn't get up to my roof as I normally did to seal the roof. And so then when it rained, it started coming through the roof. So I'm shaky right now on the inside because I'm reliving this because it was so scary, and they've ramped up again against me. And I posted on Facebook that Animal Services, Contra Costa County Animal Services was here the other day knocking on my door. I was in bed resting with Winnie, and that just scared the living daylights out of me. And I took a photo and I posted that on Facebook. So anyway, I'm very, very shaky, and just my anxiety level is really high right now. I'm experiencing the PTSD that I do, which is the inward physical pain, and it affects me, my neck and my arms and so forth. And then I start shaking. So what I'm going to focus on right now is a reminder about women's rights. And I posted on my website 4 paragraphs of the history of California that either Jane Elliott or some other government worker hacked in, because I had put that on my change.org petition and they removed it. So then I posted it on my website, and I wrote that myself, and I used several books to write that. And California became part of the Union, the United States of America, in 1850. And right off the bat, I did a little bit of research. Right off the bat that year, there was a law that was passed called Married Women's Property Act. And that was giving married women property rights. So by 1872 here in California, married women were granted separate economy. Married women were granted trade license. And married women were granted control over their earnings. Okay, so that was all the way back in the 1800s. And I did a little bit more research, and women were not allowed to apply for credit cards until 1974. And so you could see how women over the years have fought so courageously and with bravery for women's rights, so that we could own homes, so that for single women too, that we could own homes, that we could own property, that we could have control over our property. But what did these women in the government do? They completely stripped me of my rights to property, to control, for me to control my property, for me to control my property, my home, for me to control my property, my pug Elvira, and to control my property, my credit cards, for me to control my property, my money. They didn't want to say thank you, congratulations at court, that you're a brave woman, Perri. You're courageous. You fought for your rights. As a woman, you fought against this veterinary practice who intentionally and secretly plotted to defraud you. And on top of that, he harmed not only your beloved pug, but your body. But these women would not protect me, and instead they harmed me too. Physically, they were hoping that I would die. They knew I was weak. They knew I had a weak back to begin with since the mid 1980s. I injured it. And I've always had to keep up with physical exercising, which I did. And that showed by my appearance. And you can see my photos on Facebook. I did calisthenics at home on a regular basis, about 45 minutes, 40 minutes a day, about 5 to 6 days a week. And they took that away from me. And so because these women claim to be Christian, Judge Barbara Zuniga claims to be a Roman Catholic. Presiding Judge Marianne O'Malley claims to be a Catholic. Attorney Jane Elliott claims to be a Quaker. Okay, that's a denomination stemming from the Protestants. And numerous other women involved, such as my boss at the Rossmore News, who's Catholic, and she's also listed in my patch articles. That's I'm having a blank right now because I'm just so distressed over this. I'll get back to that. And my other boss at the Contra Costa Times, Susan Smith, also is a Catholic. And which is so disturbing to see these women who are claiming to be Christians with such vengeance, such force, such deception, so much slandering, backstabbing, wanting to just destroy me. I did no harm to them. I never even had bad thoughts about them. Now, of course, when they have a behavior that's unbecoming, lawless, harming somebody else, then I will speak up, and which I did. But that doesn't mean I hold a grudge or that's who I think about the person as a whole. However, they think that because I'm a Christian, a practicing Christian, that gave them the right to attack me, torture me, terrorize me, and destroy me, and continue. Still to this day, I do not have my home. I don't have my credit cards. I don't have my retirement account that I was saving in. I don't have my sentimental and precious belongings. So what I did was I looked in the Bible because I've talked about this before, that women during the time of Jesus had rights, and women owned homes. And so just one of the women, because I want to go on to some other issues about the Roman Catholic Church and about the Jerusalem, which is related to this. So let me go to the this one particular person, a female, a woman, and this is in Acts 16:14, and her name is Lydia, and she's a homeowner. And so I'll quickly read here. This is Acts, I'm going to start from 13 through 15. And this is in my King James. This is in my King James. And on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of, and excuse me, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Thyatira, which worshipped God, heard us, whose heart the Lord opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when she was baptized, and her household, she besought us, saying, If ye have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us. And then there's references. And so that's one wealthy woman who is a homeowner. Okay, that was back during Jesus' time. And in Acts 2, which I found this, let's see, and this talks about poor women. And this isn't a poor woman who owned a home. This is, you'll hear in a moment. So let's see. So this is Acts 2, and I'll start from Acts 2:18. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. So I looked up handmaidens, and that just means female servants. So it's saying that my servants, which are the male servants, and on my handmaidens, the female servants. And so that references First Corinthians 12:10. And so what the prophecy is for these servant females is, let's see, where is it? 12:10. Okay, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. So the female servants were acknowledged for speaking about the way of Jesus Christ. So I don't know why these women want to and did harm me. And you have to ask, why would the Catholic Church want to oppress women from losing their rights? That's what they've done, though. I don't know if it's some kind of a, their own vengeance against females. That's a question to for us to think about. So now I want to talk about, because so much of this aggression against me has to do with me being a Christian. And so this morning I watched The Church Militant, and he talks about, and the title is, it's on the Vortex, Who's Helping Protestants? And as soon as he starts talking about this, he opens up with that in Jerusalem, there's only Jews, Muslims, Orthodox, and Catholics. Okay, well, again, he's misleading people about Protestants. And this is a person who is a Catholic, a traditional Catholic, who has a large audience. Thousands of people watch him, and even top news agencies, watch him, are familiar with him. And it's disturbing that he keeps attacking Protestants. And I believe at this stage that the President of the United States needs to make a very strong public statement that Protestants are not to be oppressed, mocked, discriminated against, denied rights, lied about, attacked, forced to convert, forced to do anything that a Catholic or any other religion or religious group would do, because it's a terrorist attack on Protestants. So I did some work on that, because as soon as I heard him talk, I knew again he was making he was misstating the facts. That is not true. That in Jerusalem, it's not just Jews, Muslims, Orthodox, and Catholics. Okay, so here's some what. Oh yes, then in the video he says he asked a Protestant Christian tourist woman about being there in Jerusalem visiting. And do you see how he targeted a tourist woman? Okay, he didn't talk with someone that would be equal to the amount of information that he has studied over the years. Oh, he has to pick on this woman who's visiting Jerusalem, and thanks that she's going there because she's learning something. Doesn't say that. He's criticizing her for not knowing about Jerusalem. And since the title is about the Protestants, here I am. Okay, so here's the information about the Protestants in Jerusalem. So the first Protestant, well, let's start out with the earliest Christians outside of Roman Catholic Church, and those are coming from, coming from the Armenians, which Michael Boris doesn't mention, and the Christian Arabs, who are also known as the Palestinian Christians, and he never mentions them either. Both of them early on were converted to Christians, followers of Jesus. And I want to quote this from the Bible, because if you listen to his explanation, he doesn't cite from the Bible. He doesn't talk about these other groups, and that's disturbing in itself. So in Acts 2:11, and I'll start from, let's see, this is, okay, so I'll start, I guess, well, I'm not sure how to pronounce the names. That's the only thing. I apologize for not being able to pronounce the names. But this is in Acts 2, and let's see if so this is about Pentecost. And I know about Pentecost because they were gathered together in home, and then the fire was above their heads, and then they started speaking in tongues. And so it says here, I'll just read this because this would just be good to understand where it's coming from, because this is really in the beginning. And this is chapter 2, Acts 2. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians, and Medes. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. And Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, in Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia in Egypt, and in parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God. So Arabians are Christians, and he doesn't mention the Palestinian Christians, the Arab Christians in this video, and they are there are some that are Anglican, Lutheran, and other branches of Protestantism, but he doesn't talk about them. The Armenians are apostolic, the vast majority, Oriental Orthodoxy. They're not Roman Catholic. All right, so now I want to talk about the Protestants. So the first Protestant from, this was founded in 1849 in Jerusalem, is the Christ Church Jerusalem, and it's an Anglican church, which falls under Protestantism. The second one is the Lutheran Church of the Redeemer, and that's Protestant church in Jerusalem, and that opened in 1898, and that's from the Evangelical Church of Germany. Okay, these are Protestants. Then you have the St. George's Cathedral Episcopal Church, named for the patron saint of England, and that was established in 1899 after that one was established in 1899. Then you have St. Andrew's Church in Jerusalem, which is a congregation of the Church of Scotland, which is Presbyterian, which is under Protestantism, and they were there after World War I. So it's upsetting for me to hear this this very he's known. There's a lot of people watching him, thousands of people, but he's not telling the truth. And I'm just asking that everybody, because it's so unfair to Protestants, that President Trump make a strong statement for the Protestants of the United States and any visitors that visit the United States, that they will be protected under the laws, already written laws of the United States. All right, so now I want to talk about the United States in relation to California and Mexico. And Mexico was invaded by the conquistadors from Spain, and they went on a rampage, right? They're the Roman Catholics, and they went on a rampage to the Northern America territory, not just the Mid-America, which before the colonizing and all this other stuff, it used to be called Mesoamerica, which is like Middle America, which is where Mexico is, and then you go down south more before you get to Panama, and then it turns into South America, which is the larger continent in that region. So North America was not part of so-called Mexico as we know it, but the conquistadors did invade the North American region, which were inhabited by natives of that land at that time. So I wanted to talk about this because when we talk about the United States and U.S. laws, we must thank the Calvinists and the Puritans who fall under Protestantism, who created the laws of the United States so that we were not under the rule of one religious organization. That's how the law is written, and it's still written that way today. So I will post in the comments. It's from the History Channel, and it's a 4-part series, The History of Mexico, part 1 through 4. And I want to bring up this one particular person because he's, let's see, here it is. Father Hidalgo, a Catholic priest, who in 1810 launched a 10-year struggle there in Mexico to free the peasants and recover their land that was stolen. Okay, it was against and he said something about death to bad government and death to the power of the Spaniards, or death to the Spaniards, because the Catholic Church was so aggressively, terroristically powerful in New Spain, okay, Mexico. And so he fought for that freedom, and he's a Catholic. And so he's fighting back against the Catholic Church oppressing the common people in Mexico. Okay, so it wasn't just non-Catholics who were fighting back against the Catholic Church. There's the Catholic fighting back against what the Catholic Church was doing. And if you in the History of Mexico Part 3, they talk about how that how the Catholic Church was dominating Mexico, but that in the United States, we didn't have that existence of, one powerful church controlling the nation, such as what was happening in Mexico, and that was because of the laws that our founding fathers had created, and that hasn't changed to this day, has not changed. Then there was another Catholic monarchy takeover, and that happened in the mid 1800s, and that crumbled as well. And then again, if you go back to my 4 paragraphs on the history of California, you'll see that Mexico was in agreement too, that they wanted an individual to have property rights as well. And so you could find that on my website, and I'll go ahead and post that. And let me see if let's see if I can find it. Let's see. It's so disturbing to hear a traditional Catholic keep going after Protestants, because that happened in the 1500s, even with Lutheran. And we're already in 2019, and that needs to stop. Encouraging other Catholics to mock and ridicule and destroy Protestants is just disturbing. I mean, I really want our government to stop Catholics, whether they're traditional or Novus Order modern Catholics, to stop attacking Protestants. So in my articles, it starts off with California history. Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1821. In 1833, the Mexican government was no longer under the authority of the church. But again, they tried to, like I say, they tried to bring it in through a monarchy system, which is hierarchy. In the following year, specifically, missions were converted and land and movable property was distributed to individual head of family. And the books that I gathered my information from are American authors, U.S. authors, and I don't know what other information. I didn't have any other access to any other books. I didn't have access to the History Channel when I wrote this. Let's see. Specifically, missions were converted and land and movable property was distributed to individual head of family for commons and lands of municipal uses and maintenance and expenses of the mission. The Indians were freed and granted land. In 1843, under the Mexican governor of California, and again, I'm talking about California, he directed some of the missions to be restored back to the priests, allowing them to regain control over some of the Indians that had not been legally emancipated in an effort to protect the missions. In 1841, the governor's successor declared that the new Christian Indians return and cultivate the designated missions, otherwise the missions would be declared abandoned. And also the governor of the Mexican governor of California, I believe, was in, I want to say Monterey, but I'm not sure right off the top of my head. So designated missions, otherwise the mission would be declared abandoned. Other missions were rented or sold. Later that year, the new Christian Indians were encouraged to apply to the government for titles of land ownership. Okay, so that was what was going on at that time. And so then when you get closer, there's one more paragraph before that. That was when the first Spanish Catholic mission was founded in San Diego in 1769 under the New Spain. And that was ordered by the King of Spain. And it was under the political control of the government of Inquisition. And it was one of political or religious nature, characterized by lack of regard for individual rights, prejudice on the part of the examiners, and reckless, cruel punishments. It was a condition of their establishment. Mission lands were not property of the missionaries. The property was domain of the king and pleasure of the political party. So that was in the first paragraph. I just quickly went through there. So number 3, the separation of church and state came to be, and I'm back to California history, and in 1839, California was under a new Mexican government system. The capital was in Monterey. Okay, so the capital was in Monterey. By 1846, battles were fought between Mexicans and Indians, and American revolutionaries won ground, including what was called the Bear Flag War. U.S. military government controlled affairs, but there was no government between 1846 and 1849. The federal government, Union, having deprived California of individual rights under the same constitution, gained sympathy by the unstoppable U.S. military general who issued a proclamation calling a convention of an official defining of the irregular relations of California and the Union. In 1849, the California Constitution was framed for the people, the morals of the people, and slavery was forbidden. In 1850, California was admitted into the Union. And that is one of the reasons why I contacted Secretary of State Salvador, Ken Salvador, is that his name? And I was completely ignored. It turns out he went to a seminary, which is where you study to be a priest. And he was appointed by President Obama. So now in paragraph 4, a Contra Costa County court system was formed. And so now I'm talking about the county that I live in. A Contra Costa County court system was formed where civil business was accomplished by a county judge, 2 associate judges, a clerk, and a sheriff. In 1851, 4 judges were appointed to hear cases regarding the ownership of cattle, which included brand inspections and driven stock through the county. The judges were required to learn about the business of cattle. Owners of other livestock such as horses, sheep, and hogs presented themselves and their animals before the judges when they arrived in town. The judges could arrest the accused of killing, hiding and stealing animals which belonged to someone else. If the judge found that the brand or mark on an animal was defaced or altered, the offender was guilty and prosecuted. So all the way back then, animals belonged to somebody. They were under ownership of an individual. Okay, they weren't the owner of the President of the United States. They weren't the owner of the governor of the state of California. They weren't the owner of the sheriff deputy in town or the judge in town. So I'm just asking that please everybody keep demanding. Elvira is my property. My credit cards are my property. My money is my property. My home in Concord is my property. I proved it in the civil court that I was defrauded by the vet practice. I proved it that that there was a heinous veterinary fraud schemes. It wasn't just one. They used Elvira. They converted her. They trespassed. They used her for their own purposes in a very deceptive scheme. They were committing illegal acts. Okay, but that, like I said and have said before, an individual is allowed civil rights in civil court. If the district attorney decides to prosecute them under criminal laws, that's their decision. The victim has the right to express what they would like. In civil court, though, the individual has rights. That's the law. We are under California law. We are under state and local law. And period. That's it. I won my case in 2009. I'm the owner. Where are my property? Where is my cross? You know, where is my precious childhood items? Where's my vintage toys that they stole? Why did they have to break my childhood horses? You know, why did they damage and defile my antique historical Brayton French furniture? What was the purpose of doing that? So I go back to the Catholics. I proved it. This is perpetrated by the Catholics. It is illegal. I proved it. Catholics and any other religion are not allowed to practice their religious beliefs and their laws and apply their laws in the court of law in the United States, in the state of California, in any state of the Union, period. Let's see if I have anything else that I want to. Oh, yeah. So there were a few more terms that I wanted to talk about because in my patch articles, I talk about some of the terms that the Catholics will refer to, like hope you all you want and maybe you'll get lucky. On the outside, they'll say, oh, good luck. But inside, they're going, oh, maybe you'll get lucky, or Ratsa Ruck, mocking if you have Asian in you ethnicity. So one of the other things they say is if they're communicating with you and you're a decent, rational, law-abiding, considerate, caring individual, they'll say, you seem like blah, 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 okay? You seem like a nice person. You seem like you're a caring lady. That's because they're not supposed to acknowledge your individual character. So a Catholic will say, you seem. That means that you're disassociating yourself, and then at the same time you're trying to give a compliment, and it's something that I think they struggle with because they're conditioned to not accept individuals as human beings. It's very sad. It's very sad. Another term that they say is after or even during the time that they're attacking you and torturing you and mocking you and making fun of you and even getting volatile, they'll say, it's not personal, it's everything personal. And again, they use this to disassociate, to take away from that personal, individual character that a human being has, that individual spirit that an individual has. That's their goal. That's what they teach in our schools. Okay, I know that. My mother taught me that one, and I'm against it. It's not personal. Oh, yeah? It's everything personal. So why are the Catholics teaching this secret demonic sex war? Okay, why are they waging war on U.S. citizens? So that they can apply their Holy See canon laws. Once they apply their Holy See law, they think that they can do whatever they want. No, you can't. We're under U.S. and state laws. Okay, why have they been doing this over all this time? Why have they been teaching U.S. citizens secret demonic sexualizing? Okay, they've been doing it to men, for 50 plus years or so. The American people even immigrate here from other countries, and the men think that they're supposed to rape women. Why are the Catholics teaching this? So they could have the control, so they could take over, okay, so they can create division. It's wrong. It's illegal. It's not, it's illegal. It's terrorism. And what it's doing is people are losing their rights. Decent people, decent U.S. citizens are losing their rights. And it's completely illegal. Why do they teach the men to become secret demonic sexualizers and secret demonic sex endeavors? Why do they teach them to be predatory flirts? And why do they teach them to seek secret sex endeavors like a trade-off? Hey, if I have sex with that woman, I'm going to do something for her. Or if that woman asks me to do something, she needs to do this for me, which is sex. It's because they believe that gives them the right to not only apply their canon law, but it also influenced the man to basically lose their thought process. It's intentional, so the American man, the white man, the black man, the man that comes from another country will be, brainless, to not know what the straight and narrow is, so that they won't know the difference between right and wrong. Excuse me. It's so that they will lose their mind. So the Catholics are experts at taking advantage. So as soon as women started getting rights, they come up with they plot something, secret society, right? They plot this plan to go right in. Oh, Winnie, to go right in and take over. So that's how it came to be. And I'm going to speak out for women's rights. I'm going to speak for Protestants. I am against terrorism of any kind. I wouldn't want to wish what they did on me to somebody I don't even like. Okay, that's another phrase that they teach people, like this: I like you, I don't like you. I like this, so that gives me the right to help you. I don't like you, so I'm not going to help you. That's not American law. That's not U.S. law. So I just want to make that clear, because they keep doing it. They keep perpetrating this aggressive, terroristic, denying people their rights. I'll post in the comments this history of Mexico, and you will understand what I'm talking about. And the other, some time ago, I posted it on my Facebook, a sticker that's on somebody's vehicle just here in the neighborhood that says, make America, no, how did they say it? Make America Mexico again. Okay, something like that. Meaning like North America used to be Mexico. North America was never Mexico to begin with. So please, please do not keep attacking U.S. citizens. Demand that the President of the United States make a public statement about this terrorism against U.S. citizens. The laws are written. Demand justice for my case, Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al. I filed a notice of stay of proceedings. It was served according to laws. It is a valid document. It is legal. It is still valid. My case is still active. And the criminal case that they forced me into, illegally took me into custody, it was intentional for them to try and kill me off, to completely deny me of my rights. And they behaved just like a priest who would mock the victim so that there is no justice, following their canon laws under the Holy See. And this is completely illegal. Please, everybody, please, for the sake of the United States, for the sake of your family, your friends, speak out against what the Catholic Church is doing to the United States. So let me make sure that if there's anything else I need to talk about. Again, as I said before, I had requested the National Guard, even when the U.S. National Guard, even when I was being terrorized at my mobile home park. The manager of the park kept harassing me. They kept sending me illegal rent increases. And I even asked the city attorney at the time, Mark Kuhn, to send out the National Guard. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. It's total terrorism, what they were doing to the residents at the mobile home park. Complete terrorism. It was illegal to keep increasing the rent as they were. We were under rent control, and if we wanted to apply that, we had the right to do so, and I was denied that right. And the women at the courthouse, I went to the courthouse asking for a restraining order against the owner and the manager, and they completely denied me, outright denied me. Both Commissioner Judith Sanders and her supervisor, either it was Scanlon or I can't remember the other name, but it's similar. They keep intermixing with me, but I can only remember Scanlon. I posted on Facebook to please contact the U.S. Army. We need protection. The U.S. citizens need protection. Law-abiding citizens, property owners, we need protection. The Catholics are rampaging through this area, and we need protection. They do not belong in the federal government and perpetrating this kind of lawlessness and terrorism on me and other U.S. citizens. Sex has nothing to do with my civil case against the veterinarian. I was there against fighting civilly against the vet practice because they had destroyed me, and they had committed heinous veterinary fraud schemes. There were multiple schemes, and I proved it. All right, thank you very much, and I'm going to sign off for now, and please keep fighting back. And I will keep posting. This video is about 58 minutes long, almost 1 hour long. And I just ask that all Christians pray for my safety, pray for justice, demand justice. It is in the instant. As I've said before, my case is to be created, justice is to be created in the instant. I proved it both in the People versus Mink, which is a total fraud case, to kill me, to literally kill me and permanently destroy me for the rest of my life. And the civil case I proved through facts, evidence matched by evidence, and then you apply laws, and my case was supposed to be settled in the instant. I was physically injured by the vet practice. I was physically injured by the women here at the courthouse, and just keep demanding till everybody you know. All right, thank you very much. I will keep you posted. Signing off for now.